Most of you know my dad as a great guy or golf pro extraordinaire. He had a way of making everyone feel special. Even a fudgy at Wawa felt like they were pals after 2 minutes. But I'd like to share a different side of him, that of a big brother and a dad. In recent years, I've had the honor and great pleasure to spend much time with my Aunt Jeannie. She is the keeper of our family history, and she has generously shared pictures, stories, and documents with me. My most prized artifacts are 11 letters that my father sent her while she was a student at Michigan. He wrote them while he was stationed at an Air Force base in Montgomery, Alabama, and they span from December 1958 to January of 1962. The letters are very sweet and personal. They show how much he loved conversing with her, sharing his activities, and hearing about what she was up to. I could really tell that they had a loving relationship. He usually signed off, "Be good, love your big brother Fritzy." Before I get to some of the funny parts, I'm very proud of one letter he wrote to her on March 9th, 1960. He wondered if she had heard of the political and racial unrest and wrote about people marching on Alabama's state capitol. He referenced a now very famous sit-in in which 35 African-American college students were unfairly arrested for civil disobedience at a lunch counter. Of course, he didn't say it that way. He said it was a bunch of crap. I'm so proud to know that my dad spoke out against racism at a volatile time. It really means a lot to me. He didn't judge anyone for their religion, race, or anything. He was even friends with a Buckeye or two. As a big brother, he was generous and sent her money and gifts, including a radio to use at the beach and a set of 12 encyclopedias. He said she would receive 1 or 2 each month and that they cost him $120 or $6 a month. He seemed really excited that she and Pete could look up anything in those. On March 19th, 1959, he reported to her that he had long hair and was growing a mustache. But quiet, don't tell Mom yet. He always asked what she was doing. On October 10th, 1960, he asked if she had gone to Mackinac Island, and he said, "I really like a fudge over there." It was fun to read that he was very active. Of course, he played golf on the base golf team, but he also attended several dances and concerts. He went roller skating and bowling. He loved movies and remarked on a new flick called Rio Bravo and that she should see it. He traveled to Fort Lauderdale and lost 24 pounds before a trip to Panama City. He attended Auburn's homecoming, was set to be a best man, played an epic Monopoly game that lasted 3 days, tried to learn Spanish from a fellow soldier, and he was saving up $4 to send her so she could buy him a Michigan sweatshirt. He was a lifeguard, which I did not know. And he said he was about the best swimmer here, but that they, quote, "they are going to employ civilian lifeguards soon because they're worried we'll fool around with the officers' wives or daughters." He assured my aunt I wouldn't, you know. In his 11 letters, he mentioned 12 women. He either dated them, was interested in them, or made them mad. And that's a lot for 11 letters. He only mentioned cookies twice. In one case, he drew a little picture of a doghouse and said that a girl had just left him a note that said, "Do not move until I have a few words with you." He figured he was in trouble in the doghouse. Here are a couple quotes from these letters about women he said to Aunt Jeannie. One quote, "You know how interested I am in pretty girls. And to my dad, every girl was a pretty girl. He said, "You'll have to fix me up with sharp girls at Michigan. Dad says they're cute." He said, "I'll have to get a leave so you can fix me up with these fine-looking chicks across the hall, okay?" And the best one was, "Women will be the ruin of me. Oh, they love me so." So much talk about women in the letters, but there was one woman who stood out in all of the letters. And in one letter, he told my aunt, "You're my favorite girl, you know." You might wonder about Pete. In one letter, he just said, "I haven't heard from Pete. Tell him to write." Here's another story that's really not related to my theme here, but I really wanted to tell it. It was when he was a golf pro at Black River and 8 members of the Red Wings came to play golf. It was the summer, and my mother said that most likely they were practicing at McMorran or something. And my dad called her and said that some members of the Red Wings team were coming over to grill steaks, but not to tell anyone and to make a big scene about it. So she immediately called my grandparents and the neighbors. My mother said she couldn't remember all of the players, but she said that Gordie Howe and Alex Del Vecchio were very nice. Now, as a dad, I have far too many stories, so I'm just going to mention a few highlights as his baby girl. I have early memories of spending too much time at the pro shop at Black River. Especially little, I would admire the fancy rhinestone pins in the showcase. My brothers and I would fish at the river, and I remember catching a fish with my baton. I remember watching a lot of golf back in the day, and I remember Tom Watson was my favorite. It was really pretty boring to me then, but I'd really, really love to do that right now. One Christmas, I think it was around 1978, my dad surprised me and my brothers with tickets to see Kiss at Olympia Stadium. And I'm pretty sure that he and Lindsay wore earplugs the entire time. Although my dad had 2 sons, I was the one he took to Michigan football games. It was a tradition. He would pick me up at the same time. We would take the same route, stop at the same booth at the farmer's market, get the same donuts. We share the trait of love of traditions. He would spoil me at Moe's, and I would dream of going to school there. When I got my acceptance, he was pretty happy. When I was in college and Bo Schembeckler retired, he called me 7 times that day to leave me messages just to make sure I was okay. And when Bo passed away, my dad was my first call. Speaking of traditions, we had many Christmas traditions, including a special breakfast of scrambled eggs, cinnamon rolls, and smoky links. This past Christmas was really special because just the 4 of us spent it in the morning, and Michael made that breakfast. My dad encouraged me to play golf. One time when I was playing at the Elks, he came out on his cart and scolded me for using range balls. I didn't want to lose balls because I'm not a very good golfer, but he said, "The pro's daughter can't use range balls." He shook his head and rode off. He even made me a set of golf clubs and got me personalized golf balls one Christmas, which I thought was just so cool. They said Amy McElroy on them. But I thought they were nice. Dad loved TV. We had to schedule everything around TV. In Florida, we could not leave before Let's Make a Deal or The Price is Right. We had to be back for Deal or No Deal. Or Castle. He loved Castle and would always get so frustrated and say, when are they going to kiss? And I remember calling him on the phone the night Castle and Kate had their first kiss. I could tell he was choked up. It was so Recently, his favorite show was Shark Tank. He made Candy and Mike watch it. And he made Candy drive him to Bed Bath & Beyond. Buy a few sets of scrub daddies. But he is really mad that there wasn't a yellow one. Dad spoiled us shamefully, terribly, awful. If I needed something, boy, he could find it. One time I needed Cliff Notes for a book I was reading in high school. I'm an English teacher, so I read the Cliff Notes with the book. But I couldn't find this one set, and he miraculously could find anything I needed. And if I just wanted something, all I had to do was drop an obvious hint, and it would show up. I was absolutely shameful about that. He also managed to surprise me on several countless occasions. Just one of the many, many examples. I went to Northern's prom with a friend the year after I graduated, and he found out where I was having dinner. And when we went to the Victorian Inn, he had arranged to pay for our dinner. He just did things like that. Many of you know how thoughtful he was, and you can just imagine being his daughter. I was with my dad the first time I had too much to drink at one of his and Lindsay's Christmas parties. And my dad was the first boy with whom I ever danced. It was at his wedding when I was about 3rd grade. The picture's over there. I remember being so nervous because I didn't know what to do. And I just put my feet on his and we danced. My dad had many wonderful personality traits, but then there were the ones I inherited. His short temper, his lack of patience, and his tendency to worry about everything too much. Thanks, Dad. I just haven't touched the surface of my dad as a dad, but I will close by saying that I was really proud to be his daughter. His popularity really made me feel special. And the way that he loved the 3 of us made me feel safe. He had 100% unconditional love for me and my brothers. True, unconditional love. No matter what we did or how challenging we were, and we were, he loved us. I worked my whole life to make him proud of me as I was of him. But that's completely impossible. I think at times he thought that I was too independent to need him, but I did, and I do. I'll miss his humor. I'll miss laying my head on his belly when we hug on the couch, and I'll miss the feeling of getting off of the plane or the ferry and having butterflies, even in my 40s, butterflies in my stomach, because I was so excited to see him standing there waiting for me in shorts and with a big smile on his face. He was the best man I knew, and he was the most important man in my world. Thank you for being here.